Kendra Arneson, a whistleblower, has been given clearance to see virtually everything. She is the wife and daughter of commercial fishermen, and after the disaster, she spoke out so often that she was invited to see the behind the scenes of the spill. She was given security clearance to go anywhere anyone would want to go, including the Homeland Incident Command Post. She was given clearance to go to the actual site itself and fly on Coast Guard planes, go on Coast Guard boats, helicopter rides, and even sit in on meetings with the higher-ups. Her lecture on what she saw runs for about 15 minutes and can be easily seen on YouTube or at gulfemergencysummit.org. For the sake of time, only some of the most important things she has to say about the toxicity level in the Gulf will be included.
At any rate, I'm going to go into the health issues for a moment, if you don't mind. I sat through endless hours of meetings with BP's safety officers. I've sat through an hour and 45-minute meeting with the Coast Guard safety officer, both in the Homeland Incident Command Post, as well as a gentleman from OSHA. In order to obtain a respirator for our responders, now this isn't just commercial fishermen, I'm talking about Coast Guard members, all responders, people off the street, everybody involved. Number one, they have to fill out an ocean questionnaire. Number two, they have to have a physical evaluation by a medical professional. But EPA is doing air monitoring. Everything's okay, it's great. Yeah, imagine that. At any rate, there is in fact some act somewhere in OSHA's law that says that volunteers have a right to wear a volunteer respirator. But as we all know, BP is taking over our Gulf. BP rules right now our Gulf. I mean, bottom line, that's who's in charge of the situation. They couldn't even run their own company, and they were in charge of this response. I'm totally appalled. They can't wear a volunteer respirator because if they're not properly trained, BP's rules are they have to be properly trained in order to wear a respirator. Now, BP said that they will provide the training and they will provide a respirator, but everything's okay. So they don't need to be trained and they don't need a respirator. And as far as the right to wear volunteer respiration, guess what? If you don't follow BP's rules, you don't have a job. And that's what they told me. Now, I asked them to discuss the 7 men that were brought, 1 by helicopter and 6 by ambulance. I asked them if they were at liberty to discuss that with me. And they said, yes, ma'am, we are. I guess these guys didn't realize who they were talking to. Number 1 response from Mr. Hayward was food poisoning. 4 different boats, all in way away from each other, food poisoning. Second response was heat exhaustion. Then, Wednesday a week ago, when I sat with OSHA and BP safety officer, the OSHA man informed me that all 4 boats took Pine Sol, sprayed it all over their boats, and then sat and breathed in the fumes all day long, and that's what caused the chemical poisoning. Hold on a second. I've been on boats all my life. I've been with captains all over the place. When we spray something on our boat, we wash it right off. If not, it eats the paint off the boat. We take care of our stuff. So that right there was just a blatant out lie. So then I asked him to throw one out of left field at him. I said, well, what about the people on 9/11? He said, it's funny you asked me about that, because I was working that job. We were following them around with respirators, begging them to put them on. And he actually pointed the finger at our New York firefighters. Yeah, he did. People who are dying a slow death as we sit in this room right now from chemical poisoning, pointed the finger at them and said that they turned around and gave him the 1 finger salute and said, we're not wearing a respirator, we're looking for our friends. Trained firefighters in New York? Are you serious? At any rate, you know, my children have broke out in 4 rashes. My child broke out in a rash the first time. I took her to Florida for 4 days. It magically cleared up. I brought her back. She broke out again. I left. She cleared up. Now today, she's broke out again. Not to mention that my beautiful, healthy healthy, straight-A student, gorgeous daughter, has a double ear infection, upper respiratory problems. I left and went to Baton Rouge, and as I drove back home, clearing the throat, the stickiness, the upper respiratory irritation. You know, the bottom line here is, this morning I contacted Ms. Marla Cooper, who is District 9 Councilwoman for Plaquemines Parish. And Ms. Marla has 3 grandchildren in our area, and she's just a great grandparent, a good mom, and I told her, Ms. Marla, we have got to call for an evacuation of our area. We cannot allow our citizens to sit like we're out in the middle of it. This stuff's on all 3 sides of my home. I walk outside and there's a haze. They're called bad air days. Folks, stay inside, put your air conditioner on recirculation. Everything's just fine. Well, why do we need to lock ourselves up in our house? You really think that's going to cut it? Do you really think that's going to make the situation better?
Some might ask themselves, why haven't I heard about all of this? The media blackout, the people getting sick, the levels of toxicity? The truth is that BP has paid Google, Bing, and Yahoo for the top sites on the search engines. So if people search the phrase BP oil spill, the first phrase to come up is the BP website dedicated to showing us what they're doing to help. Although this is merely a PR stunt, they know that many Americans looking will only click on the first few links, and this is just their way of trying to save their own public image.
All right. You know, as BP tries to control the oil, it is also trying to control its image as well on the air with TV ads. They started Thursday, and online, the oil giant is buying space on search engines. So if you put the words oil spill into Google, what you'll find at the top is a link to BP.com with the line, learn more about how BP is helping. So type in Gulf oil, and once again, BP links, that comes up first. I want to turn to Maureen McKay now. She is the managing editor of thefiscaltimes.com, which featured this story. Maureen, for those of us who are not totally savvy about how search engines work, explain to us what BP is doing, how they did this.
Well, what this effectively means is that they are paying money for their company to appear first in any search. So if the average person out there in America goes to Google to try to get some information about what's the latest with the oil spill, and they innocently type in oil spill, let's say oil spill itself, or Gulf of Mexico, or even wildlife and oil spill, what they're going to be brought to first is the BP site, and it will very clearly say what BP is doing to help. Now, when you go onto their site, it's a very sanitized PR and marketing message. What it effectively does is bump down other legitimate news and opinion pieces that are addressing the spill. BP is right there at the top, and they're paying big money for that.
Maureen, I have to ask you this, though, but isn't that an effective PR strategy? Many companies do that, and many individuals do that when they're trying to clean up their online reputation or their online resume or history. So they're not doing anything out of the ordinary. So then what's your beef with this if you have one?
You're absolutely right. There are many companies who do it legitimately. In most cases, they are trying to get their message out about a product or a service. This is a national catastrophe. So what in effect is happening is that BP is controlling the perception about the news. They are bumping down other stories about the oil spill, and they are at the top. And that goes for Google, and that goes for Yahoo, and that goes for Bing. They're paying money every day to have their company there. And by the way, we asked them directly how much they're paying. They wouldn't disclose those terms. That's between them and Google. But the fact of the matter is they're putting up the money to have their company appear there.
Aside from people getting sick, crops in Mississippi are also being negatively affected by what some are saying is toxic rain. Rain mixed with oil fumes and a deadly toxic dispersant. There are also reports of oily rain coming down in certain areas, as this video shows.